Hey guys, good morning. I'm getting ready to plant a few new things in my garden, actually right behind me. This is an area that Aaron and I created last year. In fact, this whole spot last year was gravel all the way to that back corner. So all that was here was this boxwood hedge and then the big blue spruce and then a couple of shrubs behind me. There's a rose bush and a dogwood and a spirea. So we've got some baby boxwoods right up here, which I want them to form a nice hedge, maybe, a couple feet high. And so the whole idea is to plant this whole area up with taller things that can be planted in back so they still are seen and beautiful, but then we'll have our nice, really solid structure right up front here. I've already added a couple of things. There's a pink flowering dogwood, which will fill in this area really nicely, and then a bloodgood Japanese maple, which brought in the red that I really needed in this area. So I've actually got my 4 colors, the 4 important colors to look for in every area, and that is green, red, blue with that giant blue spruce, and then gold, which I've got a gold juniper right there to my left. So I've got the colors going on. Now I need to start filling it up with some really pretty things. So the first thing I'm going to look for is some larger shrubs. So I brought some oakleaf hydrangeas home. They're called Gatsby Gal. They're gorgeous. They're in the back of the truck, so let's go get them. Don't these look amazing? They're already in full bloom. Their leaves look super healthy. They're just really nice looking plants. So I'm really excited to get them in the ground. This variety is called Gatsby Gal, and the thing about these is that they don't get quite as big as the traditional oakleaf hydrangea varieties, which typically grow about 8 to 10 feet tall and wide. This variety gets about 5 to 6 feet tall and wide, so still a good sized shrub, but easier to fit in your garden. And oakleaf hydrangeas are a true 4-season interest hydrangea. Most other hydrangeas look really good in the summer when they're blooming, maybe through the fall, but oak leaves, when they come out in the spring, of course the leaves are really interesting shape, being shaped like oak leaves, like giant oak leaves. But when they come out in the very first part of spring, they're covered in white hair, so they look really unique and different. And then of course in the summer they bloom profusely, beautiful blooms, and they're kind of this creamy white. And you would think, since this variety is kind of sized a little bit smaller at maturity, that the blooms would be a little bit smaller, and they're not. They're huge, huge panicles, and I mean the blooms are gorgeous, but the fall color on oakleaf hydrangeas is like out of this world. It's kind of a red burgundy color. In fact, I took a picture of one last fall, and I'll try to find that picture because it's so stunning. They look just kind of like these, almost kind of leathery, and there's this bright red burgundy color. And then in the winter, they have this cinnamon colored bark that kind of peels. So they look just really pretty. Now these are a kind of a no prune hydrangea. You do not want to cut this type back. It's Hydrangea quercifolia, oakleaf hydrangea. They bloom on old wood. So really the only time you want to be cutting on these is when you're selectively taking out branches to make them the shape you want them to be. Otherwise, you want to just make sure you get a variety that will fit when it's grown to its maturity. You want to make sure that they are given plenty of space and you don't ever have to prune on them to keep them size controlled. So like I said, this variety is called Gatsby Gal. It's a zone 5 through 9, and they like to be planted in a spot with sun to part sun. Now I live in a high desert area, which means it gets very hot. We're very dry here with very little cloud cover or humidity to protect the foliage. So I'd like to plant mine in a spot with part sun. So like I said before, in the area where I'm going to put them, it gets morning shade, a little block of midday sun, and then it's protected from the really scorching afternoon heat. So I think they're going to really like it in that spot. And the only other thing I wanted to mention about oakleaf hydrangeas in general is that they don't typically love the nursery environment. They don't like to be sitting there in plastic cans. I mean, what plant really loves that? They like to be planted in the ground where they can establish themselves. So oftentimes when you see an oak leaf at a nursery, it's not usually a glorious, breathtaking specimen. So the most important thing is to look at the branching of the plant, make sure that the branching looks nice, that you like the way it's shaped, and then get it in the ground, let it establish, let the roots start to spread, and it'll look like a whole different plant. However, I got really lucky with these. I don't know what the deal is, but they look absolutely amazing. So speaking of which, let's go get them in the ground. I got all 3 of them in the ground, and I absolutely love how they look. I cannot wait till they start growing and getting some size. There's just so much interest just in these 3 plants that I think it's just going to be super pretty, especially when I start adding some more colorful perennials. Sun is coming out, so I'm going to move over here. So the thing about this spot is that it was pretty hard soil, I noticed when I was digging the holes, and that's kind of, you know, I was kind of expecting that because this was all gravel. It had been walked on. It hadn't been worked up or anything in years, who knows how long. And hydrangeas like moist but pretty well draining soil, so I wanted to make sure to give them the best start. So you probably noticed I added some granulated gypsum to each of their holes, and gypsum just helps break up any kind of hard pan soils and, you know, helps kind of facilitate water. It does take a buildup of it in the soil though to start taking effect. So the gypsum is something that I will be using consistently, probably 2 or 3 times a season around all these plants in this area, just to make sure that they're staying happy. I also added a little biotone starter fertilizer into each hole because I just do that for everything, and all my stuff tends to do really, really well when I use that starter fertilizer. So really, all I'm going to do is water them in. I might add some mulch in this area. In fact, Aaron and I have actually been adding leaves to this spot. You can see right here, and they're starting to work into the soil, which is really wonderful. But this area is just going to be fun to see evolve. I'm excited to share it all with you guys, so we'll be giving you updates as the season progresses. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.